adventure with What It Takes Radio, helping you connect with your audience. And today, another interesting idea. And yeah, sometimes you can get more real news on Netflix than what is called the news. A bit of a rant, but a story about the way the world goes right now. Greetings once again, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for being with me today. And it would be good if perhaps I made sure that I was actually talking into the microphone. And so that's what I'm going to do. I had it right on the side. It was going well, but I said, no, Stan, remember, you have to show them that this is truly a radio show. And this is the kind of golden microphone. Now, not the $900 to $1,000 one that Rush Limbaugh had, considerably cheaper than that by far. And that also shows you something about technology. But what I want to do today is continue with interesting ideas on a subject which has struck me and probably struck you recently as we come up. Right now, they're getting ready. Donald Trump is getting ready to celebrate his 100 days, that proverbial benchmark for new presidential candidates. And as somebody pointed out, it actually goes back. It's more of a journalistic invention, though it did come from the idea that when Franklin Roosevelt became president and said that he was going to change the world and take us out of a depression, that they kind of evaluated what happened in the first 100 days. And so Mr. Trump and his team, they're going to believe that their 100 days is worthy of a celebration, and they're going to do that. And at that time, again, what will happen is that the news media, as we sometimes call them, will have all kinds of different points of view as to what is really the news and what is true, right? What is new and what is true and what is important to you. So just briefly, some thoughts today on how we could take a little better and maybe a little more cynical, but maybe more thoughtful approach to what it means to talk about the news. Let's begin there, and the title was a serious one. Maybe you'll learn more on Netflix. I'm Stan. The program begins right now. Well, of course, one of the appropriate ways to begin a story about maybe fake news is, of course, this newsroom behind me, of course, is completely fake. Doesn't exist. It's all made up thanks to the marvels of modern artificial intelligence and all kinds of other things. This beautiful studio is a contrivance of the imagination. Now, that doesn't mean one doesn't exist somewhere, but it certainly doesn't exist on my radio station. But it helps me perhaps have a little bigger and brighter image, because image is important, and I can do that. And also, as I said, my golden microphone, and I have a tie on today. Now, that's always an issue for me. I really like ties. I have a number of them. I had Trump ties about the same time Trump did. And I always enjoyed what I thought was a striking, oftentimes solid color, and occasionally a golden tie. Well, of course, times have changed. And now my wife says, well, Stan, sometimes you look more at ease and more approachable when you be a little more casual, take off the tie, open the collar, and be a little more, thoughtful about doing that. Don't always kind of dress for success or dress for leadership. So that's always an issue that comes up with me. And so I have to think about what kind of image I want. Well, I just got done doing a program where I thought this was quite appropriate. So I left it on for this program. Now, here we go. just the other day, and I will not give any particular more information about it, but Karen and I just happened to stumble upon a program on Netflix. Now, we have decided that Netflix is a worthy contribution for our expenses. Obviously, we are very careful about expenses, and particularly the expenses on the subscriptions in the digital world. But at the price of going to the cinema these days and then buying your own popcorn, that can be quite expensive. And at the same time, what we are discovering is that we can get most of the films that we might want to see on Netflix. And of course, we can bring our own popcorn and we can do all of those things. Now, what really struck me is that there were so many different films that I had never heard of at all. And what more and more I've discovered is that many of these are films that probably would have never made it if they had to compete in what was the past day modern theater cinema as one of the only places and the only venues where films of either quality or mediocre quality or whatever could find a place. But now, of course, they can. And just recently, we saw a film that I thought, as I said, I didn't know that. And it was a film about a woman who went, young woman who went through some very, very difficult. It's based on a true story. Again, keep in mind that means they take some fictional and literary licenses based on a true story. Not necessarily that's the real story, but it's based on a true story. Most of them have that kind of a qualification to them. And it was about a woman who went through some terrible, terrible situations. And it was the fact that it's the film kind of said her brain was on fire, and they didn't know that. And it almost cost her life. But through the heroic diagnosis of a real doctor, she came out of that before she passed away because of it. And of course, what it was all about was that I didn't even know that this disease existed, and that many people, though it's rare, had suffered from this disease. And obviously, before some of the research was done, many of these people probably landed up living a very drastically bad and terrible lives because they were never diagnosed and there was no situation that came and helped them. And so I've discovered that through some of those based on true stories, that I have learned a great deal about things of interest and maybe even importance, even through Netflix, which does not pretend to be a news source, but I received some new information about news that does exist. Now, also going way back in my young life, which is some time ago, a mentor of mine who turned out to be a rather character. We got along okay, but there was no question about him being bright and smart and tough. And he had this great line. He said, "Remember, if it's in the news, it's probably not." And his point was that the news business is not necessarily in the business of bringing us the news. It's in bringing us the news that will help them make money. And so, in effect, that's the goal. And just because it's in the news doesn't mean that it really is news. For instance, let me just be very prejudiced. Polls are not news. And if I were a program director, I would say to him and all of you, whenever you report something from a poll, I'm in danger of firing you because a poll is not news. It's not something that happened. It's something that somebody did, and how they did it and what they did and what it came up with, we cannot in any way trust at all. don't report things that are not news. News is something that happens, and it is something that is happening. And keep in mind, it may not matter. The called news cycle. Run it for 2 or 3 days, get the ratings, get the emotion, get the energy, and then pass it away until we get another thing to get people talking about. The fact that some young man who had a very obviously bad record landed up in one of the El Salvador prisons and is now one of the heroes of a certain political constituency, that's not news. The fact that thousands of illegal immigrants or migrants or whatever term you want are being redeported, that is a phenomenon that is news. His particular situation is not news. It's only a selection of the stories that one has chosen to try and make a political point, which is what it is. It's not news and it doesn't really matter. And what I'm oftentimes saying is, can I be in a position, in a situation where it's small time information, but it truly is news? It matters. It's important. It makes a difference. And oftentimes these are not celebrities, usually not at all, or people who are in political power, not at all. It is something where in the human condition, some rather ordinary, extraordinary person is doing something that helps people live better. It helps promote human flourishing. Please keep in mind the purpose of business is to contribute to human flourishing, for people to do and live and be better. And I now have a new moniker. I've been told that it's now going around the internet because Stan Houston said that if your business does not contribute to human flourishing, it's probably a racket. It's probably a racket. And I think I would probably agree with that. Since I'm getting accused of it or credited with it, it's okay. All I'm asking you to think about as we come up to the situations of the day, is it really news? Does it matter? Is it important? One of the things we did with our children many years ago, this was when they first began to, and we were in Europe at the time, and so there was very little, but the American top, the video music was beginning to come out, all of that type of stuff. And the European kids loved it as much as the American kids. And it was on one of the channels. And our children asked to watch it. Now, pop music is not necessarily the source of truth, inspiration, and wisdom. And one person taught me this. He said, ask your children after they see the music video, said, just ask them this question. Name the lie. Name the lie. What are they saying about love, relationships, sex, whatever? It's not true. And it turned out that they got pretty good at that. And they still got to watch their music video. But at the same time, a little bit of moral training and insight at least was planted that, yeah, maybe that's not true. Maybe that's not the good news. Maybe it's bad news. Maybe it's noise. Is it noise or news, or is it good news? You decide. Hey, best and blessings to you. Thank you for putting up with me for about 15 minutes. I hope this has been helpful. This is part of Interesting Ideas, and we produce some kind of program on a daily basis. Some of it will be the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience. Sometimes it'll be the Impact Zone. Sometimes it'll be the Transformation Zone. And sometimes it's just an attempt to have an interesting idea. But remember, ideas that are good lead to insight, which leads to greater influence, which leads to impact, which leads to greater income. Impact drives income. And income is not necessarily money. That's not true. Income is to help attract and bring good things into your life. That's it for a Tuesday. All the best and blessings to you. Reach out to me. I probably can help you in some respects. Stan at witradio.net. Stan at witradio.net. Best and blessings, and may good news be your way today. Bye for now.